Again, everybody, and welcome to Lions Memorial Field. Tonight, the 0-3 Rolla Bulldogs will host the 0-2 Joplin Parkwood Bears. So, although you might not be able to tell by the overall records, the Bulldogs, according to head coach Danny Heidert, have never been underdogs in one single game as they are tonight. Why? Well, let's talk about Parkwood. Last year, Parkwood was 14-0. They are this year the defending state champions. They're 0-2 this year. Now, this is unusual for Parkwood, but what they did, they went to where the competition was. They went down on August 31st and played Fayetteville, Arkansas. The #1 team ranked in the state of Missouri lost to them 23-0. Then they played Springdale, Arkansas, lost to them also by the same score, 23-0. But Springdale, the #2 team in the state of Arkansas, and they're ranked by USA Today in the nation as the #5 team in the nation. Coach Heidert says there's no doubt in his mind that Joplin will win the state of Missouri this year in Class 4A. He predicts they'll beat Central by 20 points, and they'll beat Glendale by 14. As we'll pause right here for the national anthem, and we'll talk about Parkwood a little bit more right after this. Talk about the Joplin Parkwood Bears in 30 seconds.
When it's time to make your move, you need someone to score for you, someone who knows exactly what to do.
John Brown Realty knows how to help you find the home you're looking for. Come in, relax, and see our home selection on videotape. Each buyer is protected for 1 full year under John Brown's homeowner guarantee. Let John Brown Realty score for you.
John Brown Realty. Let us score for you.
As we said, Coach Heidert says there's no doubt in his mind that Joplin will win the state of Missouri this year. As I said, he predicts they'll beat Central by 20, Glendale by 14. The 0-2 team this year, he says, is much better than the state championship team of last year. There are, however, some things the Bulldogs can do and will do, so this game isn't over yet, not by a long run. We'll talk about Bulldog strategy after we finish discussing the Parkwood Bears. On offense, they have 10 of 11 starters returning from last year. The only person they lost was their tailback. What they have done is they have moved number 43, Steve Box, or number 45, Steve Box, an all-state lineman, to fullback. Box, at 6'2", 235 pounds, was a unanimous selection, first-team all-state guard last year, and was considered one of the top 3 linemen in the state returning. He's recruited by all the major colleges in the Midwest. As a fullback, he is a savage inside runner that under no circumstances can come down. They hand off the option to him. They also run the veer to him. He also plays defensive end. Box makes their quarterback, David Amayo, a much better option quarterback. Talking about number 5, David Amayo, he was first-team all-conference last year, second-team all-state last year. Much smaller and much quicker than the St. Charles West quarterback Rolla played against 3 weeks ago. Their tailback, number 22, R.J. Williams, he's a transplant from wide receiver, basically a pitch man, his second fiddle of Box, but he can get the job done, and he does it well. Receivers, both receivers were first-team all-conference last year, number 41 and number 83, so Hosky and Moran. They're 6'3", they're very fast. Coach Hyder likes to relate them to being a 6'2" Snoop Harris. Also, their tight end Marty Koss is 6'5", 210. He's a very good player. Our offensive line is led by number 72, Jason Pottinger. He's 6'2", 220 pounds. They run over him with the dive and the bear. Very intense, a great competitor. He's a very strong, athletic type of player. Also, guard brother to Steve Box is Pete Box. He's also very strong and very quick at 200 pounds. On defense, they run a 5-man front with 2 linebackers and 4 deep, but they put their front 5 over the offensive linemen. They leave the guard untouched. The problem with their defense is not the formation they run, but one particular individual who plays defensive end, and that's being number 43, Steve Box. His ability and strength makes it impossible to run at him or pass around him. He dominates the game both offensively and defensively. The rest of the defensive line knows 230-pounder. Defensive tackles are 230 pounds, and Pottinger also 220. Linebackers are only good. They are a cut below last year's squad, which is the only part of this year's team that hasn't improved from last year's squad. Secondary, the best one back there is a guy by the name of Flowers. He's all over the field, has great range. He flies to the ball wherever it is. Now, what Rolla has to do is pretty complicated. The big question revolves around defensive end Steve Box. If he doesn't play defensive end, Rolla will be able to move the ball up and down the field and score 21 points. There's no doubt about this. If he does play, which he's in the starting lineup, it brings up a major problem, how to block him. First, Rolla is going to have to change their complete blocking scheme. On the run, they're going to have to double and triple team him. On the pass, they're going to have to try to put number 77, Clark Creighton, over him. Creighton will not be able to push him onto the way. Supposedly, what rumor has scouting reports, that is, will not be able to push him away on the run, but will be able to stay in front of him on the pass and give Lieber time to get the ball up. If Rolla does have to double and triple team Box, what it'll do is Rolla will have to keep 2 receivers in, which leaves only 2 receivers to go out in the pattern. Those 2 receivers must then get open. Also, the quarterback trap will hopefully be open against their odd defensive front. On defense, their number 1 priority is to stop number 45, Steve Box. The Bulldogs will play the dive veer first and try to block or try to stop Box in this play. The number 2 priority is to cut off the pitch to the option man. What this does is leave the quarterback bootleg open. Hopefully backside pursuit will be able to stop quarterback before picking up a substantial amount of yardage. So Rolla is giving Joplin the quarterback bootleg. Coach Knoll is with me this evening, and Coach Knoll, your optimism again with Rolla, never been blown out. They have played Joplin the past 2 years. They beat him once. They lost last year. They have never been blown out of a football game. From Joplin, they're predicting 42-0. Joplin blowing the Bulldogs out, and you don't seem to think that's going to be the case tonight.
Well, I don't think that'll be the case. I'll be very surprised if it is. As I said before, last year they were state champions, and we held our own. Now, I know this team from Joplin is greatly improved, and it may be a surprise game in that we're just outmanned. But I doubt if it's by 42 points.
Well, with the passing attack that the Bulldogs have, they are never out of a football game. Coach Hyder said the other night on the TV7 locker room that coaches have to prepare for them just as they have to prepare for the opposing teams. And when they look at the type of offense that Rolla has and how they can strike at any particular time, we saw last week with the 50-yard touchdown pass from Lieber to Snoop Harris. No matter where you are on the field, they can score. Also, kicking games are so important. It's just a matter of the defense being able to stop the Parkwood offense.
Well, our passing offense is so advanced that 3 or 4 times this year we've had a receiver open 5 or 6 yards completely behind the defense, and the defense didn't even know he was there. So we can score. They have to have us down by 4 touchdowns, I would say, but before we'd be out of a football game. We can score at any time, and it's such an exciting style to watch.
We'll be back in just a moment.
Great times.